While people sleep, from the courtrooms in America we hear a chant, "It's the law, it's the law, it's the law." The sheriff deputies, police, attorneys all tell us, "It's the law, it's the law, it's the law." The F.B.I, IRS, Highway Patrol seems all of government have taken up the cry, "It's the law, it's the law, it's the law." That the people, sheeple, sleep on. When will we learn a very important lesson from history? Governments never sleep. The people sleep, and while they sleep the government moves in and becomes a thief. Governments become monsters while people sleep. The people of Germany went through a hell on earth, bled and died because Hitler and their government became a thief while the people slept. Will the people of America sleep on while our government continues to fatten itself with stolen power? Will America wake up too late? Is it too late already? It is too late if you read this and then go back to sleep. It is too late if you as an American do. Not to me. Not to immediately begin to enforce the law. Yes, why are you, the individual citizen, must right now begin to enforce the law. Now you're just beginning to get the sleep out of your eyes, and because you have been sleeping for a long time, I had better explain a thing or two. First of all, you were a student in the government school. The government likes to run the schools because they want you to sleep very soundly. They want you to believe that while you sleep, the government will be taking care of all your needs and you don't ever need to wake up. The government school did not teach you that man's worst enemy has always been his own government. Think about it. Who was the enemy of the people in Hitler's Germany, or Japan, during World War II, or the people in Russia, China, and elsewhere now? Man's worst enemy has not been famine, disease, or weather. People are destroyed by their own governments over and over again as history repeats itself again and again. Now your mind is starting to function as you sit up on the edge of the bed. Yes, I'm talking to you. You have been sleeping for so long, and now I must give you a quick summary. While you slept, the government has been writing and passing a lot of laws which have been stealing your most precious possession. Your freedom has been taken from you while you slept. You will go to work today and work until noon for government. In 1979, while you were sleeping, the government confiscated over half of the wealth created by the people. You will work for your government the first 4 hours of the day, and when you get home you will accuse your second employer of the day of not paying enough to live on. We think we are wide awake as we go through the motions of being an American, but the truth is we have been sleeping and the thief has been working. You have had half of your paycheck stolen and you didn't even know it. Think about it. If a man or woman becomes a thief, that person is a criminal. If a government becomes a thief, do you not have a criminal government? But the government says, we wrote a law which gives us the legal right to force the citizen to work half of every day for the government. Are you awake enough now to ask the big question? What kinds of laws have been passed while I've been sleeping? Oh, what a shock. The people were free and the government was the servant when you went to sleep, but while you slept the government took your freedom and you are now the servant. You're saying this can't happen in America, the home of the brave and free. You're saying, oh, the Congress will solve the problem, the president can turn it around, and we can always depend on the courts to protect us. Now I have to pour this bucket of ice water over your head because it's quite easy to see that it will take some shock to really get you alert and alive. While you slept, you were a sleepwalker and you made your way to the voting booth and voted for your congressman and senator and even a president. You always voted for the candidates who promised you the most from the public treasury. The pleasant dream of something for nothing makes us wish we could sleep and sleep. And sleep. The pleasant dream, the fictional world of a free lunch always becomes a nightmare in the real world. We thought if the Congress and the President don't do their job, then the courts will be the check that will bring the system back to balance. Good old alma mater, they taught me about checks and balances. We don't have a thing to worry about. We have a legislative branch, executive branch, and a judicial branch of government. Each holds check against the other and everything will balance beautifully, and the government-run alma mater, your schooling, sings Rockabye Baby in the treetop. We've still got the courts, you say, and they will protect me while I sleep. The problem with the court, my sleepy friend, is that while you were sleepwalking, you served on a jury at the federal courthouse. You see, the judges and U.S. attorneys like to have you sleepwalkers on the jury because they work for the government, and they take 12 sleepwalkers and presto, they have a rubber stamp that serves government very well. While you were on the jury, you said guilty when a wide-awake neighbor of yours was on trial as a tax protester. Like you don't protest tax? You complain and grumble because you have to work half, or more, of every day for the government. Your pleasant dream has become a nightmare's kick as government rules and regulations seem to break your back and your will. Yes, you were a sleepwalker on the jury and you gave a lot of power to the I.S. when you said guilty. While doing that, you gave the IRS the power to take your own money. You are now scared to death of the IRS. And you did it to yourself, you dreamer. If you are now awake enough to think, let me tell you how we must act and act quickly. We must take a crash, 5-minute, course in civics. First of all, we must remember that our government was to be governed by law. Now notice I said our government was to be governed by law. The government school did not stress that point. The law which the people wrote to govern the government is the Constitution of the United States. The Constitution was His law designed and written to protect the people from their own government. The Constitution gives the government the right to make laws to govern the people, but we are to have a government of, by, and for the people, so the Constitution gives the government no power to enforce the law which government writes. Any citizen who violates a government criminal statute cannot be tried by the government because the law, Constitution, says that the government must go to a grand jury, the people, for an indictment, permission to prosecute, Fifth Amendment. If the grand jury gives the indictment, the law says that the citizen has the right to a jury trial, Sixth Amendment, the law. We, the people, must make the government obey the law, the Constitution. You cannot enforce the law, which governs the government, unless you know what the law says and means. The Constitution of the United States is law which the President, the Congress, the police, and the courts must obey or they become a criminal government. How do the people keep our government legal? Very simple. If you are wide awake, you will judge the law which government puts on the back of the people. The law, Constitution, has put the grand jury and jury into our legal system to give the people checks that are the greatest checks of all in our system of checks and balances. If you are on the grand jury or the jury and your fellow citizen is being charged with a violation of a government-made law, are you going to be a rubber stamp? Or will you be a check? Is the government-made law a just law, a good law, and is it a constitutional TAV? I can just hear the government judge, lawyers, and politicians screaming. They will say the citizen doesn't have the right to judge the law. Let me ask you some simple questions. How many honest lawyers do you know? How many dishonest lawyers do you know? Can we trust the legal profession to be the guardians of our law? Do we have a government of, by, and for lawyers? The Supreme Court of the United States is made up of 9 lawyers. Every one of the 9 were political appointees of the President of the United States. These 9 lawyers say they have the final say on the law. These men are tax-consuming government employees who are claiming the powers of a sovereign. These men do not have the final say on the law. They are not sovereign. They are your and my servants' employees. They are to be governed by the Constitution of the United States, and while you and I were in our dream world, these men have made an illegal grab for power, and our dream world has become a nightmare. I hope that nightmare has jolted you wide awake by now. I hope you are now wide awake. Get registered to vote if you aren't registered. We need angry Americans on the grand juries and juries, and you must be registered to vote to be called for jury duty. Are you going to be a rubber stamp for the government? Are we going to let government write the law, administer the law, judge the law? Are you now awake enough to realize that that has now happened, and we now have government of, by, and for government? The Constitution is hanging by a thread, and that thread is in the hands of sleepwalkers on grand jury and jury duty. Will you help? Wake up these fellow Americans. Let's get ourselves informed. When you become informed, you can then remind the government and those tax-consuming public servants that the Constitution is the law. It's the law, it's the law, it's the law, and we, the people, have the power to enforce that law. We, the people, have not enforced the law which governs government, and we now have too much government. We have bad government. If you get called for grand jury duty or regular jury duty, you must remember a simple fact. The law in America explicitly prohibits the president, the Congress, or the judges to ever be anything but a public servant. One person on the jury has more power than the president, all of the Congress, and all of the judges, including the 9 justices of the Supreme Court. It's the law. It's the law. What if you are on a jury of 12 and you find yourself sitting with 11 sleepwalkers, OPS? I should say sleep sitters. No problem, you can. Hang that jury all by yourself, and you have exercised the clout, the power of an informed American. It's the law. We need millions of Americans who will take up this chant, it's the law, and government must obey the law. For too long, no one has enforced the law which the people wrote to control and govern our government. In the American Revolution, there was a humorous little saying that is as good for today as then. Either we hang together or we ought hang separately. We have been allowing the government to hang us individually, but now our backs are to the wall, and we are going to hang together. The grand jury and the jury will now protect their fellow American, and we will hang together. It's the law, it's the law. We must let the government and our servants know that they must obey the law. Permission to reprint granted and encouraged. M.J. Red Beckman is the author of 3 best-selling books. Born Again Republic, Do Unto the I.S, as they would do unto you, and The Church Deceived are must-reading. These books are available post-paid at $5 each. Every American should read Red Beckman's latest book, Walls in Our Mind, $2.50 each. Order from Common Sense Press, P.O. Box 61, Carolls, Washington 98609. Cash or money orders only.